Today we're joined by Jayne, one of our adventure travel consultants who's just returned from hiking the Menalon Trail. Is that how you say it?
That's the one.
Perfect. In Greece. This is a remote village-to-village walking holiday through the Arcadian Mountains, and we'll find out what it's really like, from the travel there to the trails, the villages, the local food, and the highlights along the way. So, let's get started with the trail. I understand that it's a bit off the beaten track.
It is, yeah. So to get there, you can fly into two airports, actually. You can fly to Athens or you can fly to Kalamata. I personally chose to fly into Athens. Flights to Athens are year-round, so it was a little bit easier, actually. Kalamata flights, they do tend to be seasonal, sort of summer schedules only. From my research, I'm pretty sure it's kind of April through to very early September. So it wasn't ideal for me because I travelled in late October. So yeah, worth a little bit of research on that one. But Athens, the timings worked really well from Manchester with EasyJet, that's what we chose to do. And then once you're there, you are a little bit away from your start point, which public transport works amazingly well. Everything was on time, and it's a series of a bus to get to the other side of Athens from the airport. From there, we got on a coach to Tripoli, which is kind of the closest. It's a big town, it's not a city. It's kind of the closest town you can get to get to the start point of, which is the start point is actually a very small village called Stemnitsa. And then from Tripoli, it's around about 45 minutes, an hour to an hour, a taxi ride. So it's lengthy, but this is what you've got to do to get to slightly more off the beaten track places. So, worth it. It's a long travel day, inevitably. Doesn't really matter which airport you fly into, it is going to be a few hours road journey. It's inevitable. So, yeah, as I say, this is kind of something you've just got to do if you want to go somewhere a little bit more off the beaten track, and that it was. Yeah, it was definitely an off the beaten track trip.
But completely worth it.
Definitely,
So,
definitely.
Can you tell us a little bit about the trail itself? What is it that makes it so remote and so special?
I would say, really, it's a village-to-village trail. And when we say village, we aren't exaggerating. Some of them are really small, really sleepy, just kind of locals going about daily life. So, yeah, kind of getting there, you very much kind of leave the bigger towns behind. As I say, Tripoli kind of was the last big town that you're in. And then, after that hour's taxi, you arrive in Stemnitsa. It really did feel like proper authentic Greece, and I've travelled over quite a bit of Greece over the years, and this definitely felt kind of wow, didn't really see any other tourists, and it felt like you were kind of in a Greek village in the middle of nowhere, and that was pretty awesome, actually. Definitely, I enjoyed that.
I think it's quite nice that you've been to like other parts of Greece, and then you had this comparison.
Absolutely. I think I kind of went with the mindset of, I've been to quite a few parts of Greece, been to quite a few Greek islands. I think I kind of know what I'm in for. So this was a really pleasant surprise, actually. It was a totally different side of Greece, which I really, really enjoyed. It was awesome. It was a fabulous week, that is for sure. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And then with the trail, what was the terrain like?
It is I would say most days are on pretty good woodland trails, similar to what we would have. I mean, we're here based in the Lake District, so kind of similar to what we have on our doorstep. Woodland trails, pretty good underfoot. Some rockier sections. I would say just kind of being steady on your feet, and kind of sometimes some of the trails, they can take a bit of concentration, like tree roots and things, and kind of, looking for, perfect placement for your feet, things like that. But generally pretty good. Some days, some steep ascents, I would say, and steep descents as well. Good enough underfit, not too gnarly, but definitely enough to sort of satisfy, an average, fit, fell walker, let's say. It was definitely enough mileage to kind of satisfy my needs anyway.
Nice. I suppose that kind of goes into my next question of what level of fitness is required if you can go out and walk on the fells regularly. Is it sort of that kind
I would say so. I would say, if you're kind of out and about, and you kind of have a weekend, you're always doing going back to the Lake District, because I live in the Lake District, so it's very easy for me to say. I know it's very lucky of us to be based here. It's very easy to say, I'll go up this fell this weekend, which is something I do quite regularly. So this was kind of a perfect level for me. Doing a few fells round here, you know, it's a little bit different in the fact that it is actually walking every single day for 6 days, which I haven't done myself in quite some time, actually. So, you know, kind of waking up every day, having your bags ready and boots on and ready to go again, which, don't get me wrong, it was nice. But kind of, I think it was the perfect amount of challenging for me, to be honest. The days were long enough to fill the day, but also enough walking that you felt satisfied and you were ready for a good meal. I would say definitely ready for a treat meal.
A cumulative walking that really does add up.
Absolutely.
Like if it's a standalone day, you're like, oh, that was easy. But when it's like day 4 or 5, you're like, okay, I can feel my legs a bit more.
Have to maybe dig a little bit deeper than you normally would, which I quite like.
Yeah, it's really satisfying.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I've had a conversation with you about this in the past, but I understand that taxi support is possible.
Yep.
How does that work?
It's pretty easily done, actually. So the villages that we go through, as it's point to point, you're literally moving on from village to village every day. If you feel like you went up for that walk that day, you absolutely could arrange a taxi from your accommodation onto the next. It probably would be a fairly lengthy taxi, that's all I would say, just because it kind of would, you know, wind around those mountains that you're trekking through effectively. So exactly how long they would take, I'm not sure. Some of them would be longer than others, but certainly possible to do. You know, if you picked up an injury, let's say, or you know, an old injury kind of was maybe giving you a little bit of bother, and you wanted just to take a day out, that would be perfectly possible to do.
You hope you don't have to use it, but it's good to have.
Exactly. It's just in the back of the mind. Sometimes it's more mental than anything, and just kind of being like, you know, I don't have to do this day if I don't need to, or you felt like maybe your body needed a bit of a rest. That actually is possible to do if needed.
Lovely. And then this is a self-guided walk, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So how easy is it to navigate?
It was easier than I thought it was going to be.
Nice.
I've actually never done a self-guided trip. So it was a novelty for me, as in like a set itinerary self-guided trip. So you got the app which is used for this one. You also get a paper map on arrival, and you do have really detailed trip notes as well. We tended to rely on the app for most days. The trail is also waymarked the entire way, so kind of it was that thing of haven't seen a mark in a while, and then lo and behold, there's one on a tree. It was way easier than I anticipated it to be. Now and then, if we kind of felt that the trail maybe, you know, we'd maybe gone slightly off course, I think it only happened twice for very short sections. It's sort of this doesn't quite look right. We would literally just go on the app, have a quick look, you know, GPS would kind of load where you were, like, oh yeah, we've gone slightly off track, not to worry, you know, we can adjust ourselves. I was really pleasantly surprised, only because I didn't know what to expect really with self-guided.
It can be a bit daunting.
It can.
But
exactly, and inevitably, like the first day or so, you kind of get into grips with the app and, you know, kind of seeing what what it's capable of and how sensitive it might be with, you know, location services, things like that. It was a whole lot better than it was actually really reliable, to be honest. So as I say, just two small occasions where we went slightly wrong.
Good,
we saved ourselves, which is okay.
Nice. And then let's go on to the accommodation, because with this trail being a village to village trek, what were the villages like? Was there a particular one that stood out?
I did really love Dimitsana was a really nice village. That is the second village you walk to, and I would say that only because they all felt authentic, but I would say more so in that one it was literally full of locals. Like you didn't hear anyone speak English. They did speak English, you know, but all the restaurants and stuff, all of their menus were in Greek, so it genuinely felt a properly Greek. So I would say it was more of a small town, Dimitsana, actually. Loads of eateries to choose from, so we were kind of spoilt for choice that day, actually. Of where we wanted to eat. So that was the first day of walking, and then kind of you get to Dimitsana. And have a little walk around the town square and just kind of, you know, you have a mooch around, see what you fancy to eat. That was a really, really nice place. It just felt very relaxed, like little wine bars and stuff. If you wanted to celebrate your first day of walking, then you certainly could there. That was definitely a highlight for me, Dimitsana.
Nice. Because I think when people look at this holiday, obviously you're going for the landscapes, but with the villages being such a central point of the holiday, do you feel like just getting to each one was enough excitement in itself?
It was actually, yeah, I would say so. It was a lot of them, I would say, some of them were very sleepy villages, which in itself, they were very quaint, you know, lovely little buildings and little cobbled streets, you know, really, really, really cute. Some of them were slightly bigger. I wouldn't say it kind of made a huge difference to us in terms of what we were looking for.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't book this trip with the mindset of, you know, we're looking for a really, you know, vibrant nightlife or anything like that, because they, you know, they really are just kind of locals out at, you know, nearest taverna. But yeah, they were all really unique in their own way. But it was really nice just to kind of experience each one and move on every day as well. With them, some of them being quieter than others, I can imagine if it was, say, a centre-based trip just in one village, it might kind of become a little bit stagnant maybe. So that's where the point-to-point part of it seemed to really work.
Yeah, because you're getting something different each time.
Exactly.
And if you don't gel with one as much as like the last one, you know, you've got potentially even better.
We're moving on.
Time.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. And then let's talk about the food. How ready, available are meals and snacks along the trail? What were the meals like? How did that all work?
There was quite a variety, I would say. The only sort of, I would say, kind of forward planning really that we did was really with the lunches. Only because you aren't always walking through a village that might, you know, there'd be a cafe or whatever that would serve lunch. So I must say the route notes were really, really clear on this, so it was kind of worth sitting down with them the kind of the night before and just having a bit of a ream through. Okay, they were walking to here, and kind of there'd be recommendations for where to eat, you know, if there was somewhere en route. Similarly, there'd be recommendations to say, actually, you should maybe get some lunch provisions ready for tomorrow's walk. But yeah, they were all really clear, and we didn't misstep once in terms of kind of planning ahead, which is good. But yeah, I would say most of the villages we stayed in terms of like evening meal, there was maybe, you know, choice of, I want to say like 2 or 3, you know, eateries. So it wasn't, there wasn't loads and loads of, you know, it wasn't, you know, there wasn't 10 or something to kind of,
but it's not just like one.
Exactly. You weren't kind of like, this is where you eat and that'll do. So yeah, there's maybe 2 or 3 in most places, which was kind of enough really, you know, to satisfy whatever it was you were looking for. But the actual meals, like, they were very much authentic Greek meals, Greek dishes, which I always wanted to try, you know, souvlaki and all of that, lots of feta cheese and
nice.
There was a lot of feta cheese eaten. Yeah, I'm not upset about that.
It's so fun though, like, you know, you've got to reward yourself for even walking all day.
Yeah, exactly. You've burned off the calories, so you can definitely afford to get that souvlaki down you and the feta cheese. Yeah, absolutely.
And then when I did some research into this trek, there's a few bits about dogs on the trail.
Yes.
Something about dog tasers. Can you explain like why are walkers concerned and what's all this about?
So you do get given a dog taser. It's part of the pack when you arrive. You get that with your map. You also get a souvenir t-shirt as well. You get that given to you on day one. A dog taser, it's like an ultrasonic device, and it just emits a high-pitched noise, which only dogs can hear. The reason that is given is because there are quite a few guard dogs on the trail. They are just kind of protecting flocks, mostly sheep, but some goats as well. I would say they were never unfriendly, the dogs. They were just very much doing their jobs. They'd kind of look at you. Some of them would bark, some of them wouldn't. They wouldn't get particularly close to you, but they were very much kind of aware that you were maybe getting close to their flock. You were walking away from them fairly quickly. On the other side, I kind of would say I didn't make any effort to try and get friendly with the dogs. You very much were like, okay, you're busy, you're doing a job. And that was kind of it. We didn't feel the need to use the dog taser at any point, mostly because maybe depends on the person, but if you are kind of a dog lover, you can normally read the signs with the dog if they're kind of, you know, if the hackles are up and they're kind of, you know, edging towards you maybe a little bit too close, or, you know, you can kind of get the vibes of, you know, if they're particularly friendly. But we never had any bad experiences. They never even got particularly close.
Yeah, they just
to us. They kind of you know watched you quite beadily. Sometimes kind of walked behind you. It kind of felt like you were just being escorted past. They were sort of like, hello, and you can leave my sheep alone, thank you. I would say there was a few days that were slightly more dog heavy than others. I think that just depends on where their flock is, because they're just trying to keep their flock together and just kind of protect them from predators. But I would say kind of didn't put us off at all. It shouldn't really put anyone off booking the trip, in my opinion. The days are given just as a precaution, really.
I suppose like a peace of mind at the end
exactly.
of the day,
I think just kind of knowing you've got that in your pocket. I think I sort of had it in my hip belt, just kind of if I needed it, I knew it was there. But as I said, never actually felt the need to get it out and use it. But yeah, it kind of emits this high pitched sound. It works within around about 5 meter radius. So if you do feel like maybe a dog's getting a little bit close and it kind of makes you a little bit nervous, absolutely get it out and use it. It's there to be used if you feel the need.
Now time for the really fun bit. What were your highlights of the trail?
I'm trying to think. Do you know what? The high point, which was a peak called Pliavuni. I do apologise if that's not how you pronounce it. That was great, because it actually you were in for that day, which was on day 2, I believe. You were in woodland forest for most of it, and then you kind of popped out on this high point, so it was a bit kind of, we didn't really see much until you got to this summit. And to be honest, I think the reason why it was a highlight is because you actually saw just how green this part of Greece was. Most of the Greece that I've been to, it isn't that green. It's quite dry, quite karst. So it was really quite nice to sort of kind of pop up and just be like, wow, we're in the middle of a really quite a dense forest. So it was very colourful, which I actually didn't think would be the case with Greece. Obviously this area it is it's very lush, it's very green. I loved that, just to kind of poke your head out on this high peak and be like, okay, we're kind of surrounded by not only mountains but forested mountains, which was kind of not something I would ever expected from Greece
it's not
before
like,
going.
It wouldn't be like my first
No, absolutely not.
assumption of what it would
exactly.
be like.
So for that reason, I was really pleasantly surprised on that day, because it's kind of a day where you kind of get up into the into the tree line and get to that high point, and kind of you get really good panoramic views from the top. Which is awesome.
And then if someone's thinking about doing this holiday but not sure if it's for them, who would you say that it's perfect for?
I would say it's perfect for any fit hill walker. I would say, if you're even just a weekend walker, I wouldn't say you need to kind of, be, a marathon runner or anything. I am not a marathon runner.
I'm not a runner.
So, I wouldn't kind of say a super, super high level of fitness, an average level of fitness you enjoy, kind of doing some, getting some miles behind you, I think is key. And also the beauty of it being self-guided, you can take as long as you actually need. We might kind of say, okay, this day should be done in maybe around 6 hours as a rough guide. There's no issue at all if it actually takes you 7 or 8. You can kind of take it at your own pace. I've only ever done guided KE trips actually, so it was nice to sort of just if you want to sit and stop at this monastery and kind of look at it, you can do that. You can sit as long as you want and soak it in. I think it's someone fit, enjoys fell walking, enjoys hill walking, but I wouldn't say necessarily kind of I wouldn't say a super high level of fitness. Also someone who just kind of likes the A to B, a linear walk, which is I always think is so fulfilling. To kind of wake up every day and boots on, let's go, let's walk to the next one. I think that's really nice, to be honest. And it makes for a satisfying week to sort of be like, I walked all the way from here to here. I think
from the self-guided walks I've done in the past, it's really nice to wake up and be like, the only thing I have to do today is just walk to there. And that's it.
It's so
relaxing.
It's a holiday. That part was fab actually. It kind of gives you a purpose as well. Every day kind of I'm tracking from A to B. My bags are going to meet me there. I don't even have to carry everything I need, which is even better on this trip. So your main bag is taken ahead for you. It beat us there every day. So we were never waiting for our suitcases. So just a day pack. Your water, some snacks, and that was it. Put your boots on and off you go. The simplicity of that was great. So if you're looking kind of for, a trip which is planned ahead, to the T in terms of accommodation, baggage transfers, as you say, all you have to do is get up and walk, and that's it.
It's very peaceful. And then you just reminded me actually, because obviously you have the walk itself, you have the villages. There are monasteries that you encountered along the way,
There
aren't
are,
there?
yeah. There's probably more so near the start of the week. I would say the first day has two. The most famous one is actually down a gorge, which is literally right on the gorge side. I might butcher this pronunciation. It's a Providence monastery. So yeah, they kind of It's weird how you kind of pop out of the tree line, you walk down this gorge, and you're like, oh, okay, there it is. Yeah, it's kind of right above your head actually. So kind of it defies gravity on this this cliffside, which is very cool. But yeah, that was there's a few dotted throughout the week, a few dotted around, but more so, as I say, in the first half of the week. That one definitely was a highlight, mostly just because of how it's been built, things like that. But yeah, they're good as kind of have a little look inside. They're always nice and cool inside as well. So if the day's been quite hot, you can be like, just go inside. They're nice and cool. Often, I mean, we just sort of t-shirts and shorts. They do kind of give you shawls to throw on as well, just to kind of cover up, especially for ladies. So kind of throw on a shawl, go in there, you can go and light a candle, and kind of just kind of cool off a little bit if it's been a bit warm outside. But yeah, that one in particular on the first day of walking was a real highlight actually. It was brilliant. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down and sharing your experience with us. If anybody has any questions, just leave them below and myself or Jane will get back to you on them. And if you want to see the departure dates or any other information, you can find out on the KU website. So yeah, thanks Jane.
Thank you.